station. This is the Voice of America. How do you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear. Welcome aboard the space station.
Oh, wonderful. I wish I could be there in person to do this interview. We have standing by who wants to say a quick hello, John Larson. He is the CEO of the Broadcasting Board of Governors.
Commander Kelly, Cosmonaut Kornienko, welcome to Voice of America. Thank you for taking the time to do this interview with Ann. We really appreciate it.
Well, it's our pleasure, and we're happy to be here today and be able to share the International Space Station and our joint space station program with you all.
Scott and Mikhail, you are space pioneers. This is the first time that anybody's been up in space longer than 6 months, and you've been there 11 months now. We had someone from our worldwide audience at VOA write in and wanted to know from Ethiopia, what is your mission? Can you tell us? What is your mission? What are you doing up there?
Well, this actually isn't the first time people have been in space for longer than 6 months. We've had crew members on the International Space Station longer than that, I think a little bit over 200 days. And the Russians have flown cosmonauts on the Mir space station, I think Salyut before that, for a year, and in some cases longer. But this is the first time we're flying this long on the International Space Station. We've been here for over 10 months, and we'll leave in March. We launched in March. And our mission here is to understand the effects, mostly the effects on our physiology and psychology of long-duration space flight, so we can eventually go on to Mars. And the space station is a really unique facility to do this kind of research, and we have it now, so we should use it for that.
What are some of the highlights of your research? What have you found so far?
So there are about 400 different scientific experiments going on here throughout the course of the year that Misha and I are here. And they're in all different scientific disciplines. Some of them, however, are dedicated to our time on board, and those are mostly related to our physiology. There are issues with long-duration spaceflight, and the longer you stay here, potentially the problem or the problems that can occur with our physiology increase, such as bone loss and muscle loss, effects on our vision, even our cardiovascular health, effects on from the radiation environment, things like that. And we've done a lot of recording of the data. Last week we had an experiment in the Russian segment that used a lot of the imaging technology we have here on the U.S. segment, but using their device that puts negative pressure on our body to look at our, the vessels in our head and our heart and our eyes to see if there's an effect on our vision. And all this data that we've been collecting over there, it needs to go down to Earth and analyzed. And it's really not until the scientists have collected it all will they sit down and take a very close look and see exactly what we've learned and then report on it.
And how is your vision? Have you had any problems with your vision?
I was up here last time for 159 days, and I did have some effects on the physiology of my eyes that were measured actually when I returned. But my experience hasn't been much different than last time. I do notice some effects initially, but those have stabilized. But to add to your last question, what have we learned since we've been up here? One thing I have learned is that a year is a really long time.
Yes, well, I was going to ask both of you, what is the psychology of being confined in this space station for a year? Are you guys going stir crazy?
Well, I'll let Misha speak for himself, but I don't feel like I'm going, stir crazy. I'm not really actually sure what that means. To be honest with you, I don't feel like, I have this, sense of, I got to get out of here, as soon as possible kind of feeling. I do miss a lot of things on Earth. I definitely look forward to going home, but I do, appreciate this opportunity, and I think what we're doing here is important, and it does seem like a privilege. So, on one hand, it's hard, being up here for this long, and but when we, recognize the importance of it, it, makes it easier. And I'll let Misha answer for himself.
I
fully agree with my colleague and my friend Scott. I can only add that we were selected based on how reliable and how tough we are. So if necessary, we can break this record even further. I wouldn't say this is easy, but I think we could stay here for a little longer and make one more step.
Okay, yeah. Yes, and I wanted to ask Mikhail this question, that in an interview before you left Earth, you said, if we could send the two presidents up for 2 weeks, problems on Earth would be settled. So what do you think about that now, 10 months later? Is it time to use the space station for such high-level talks? Is this a way to get peace in the world?
Сейчас я могу только подтвердить мои слова до старта.
I can only confirm the words that I said prior to launch, because I become more and more confirmed in the fact that, given how long we've been here on station and during the entire flight, which is a proof, that how we can effectively work together, we, meaning people from different countries, of different confessions, together in space for the benefit of humanity. So I can only confirm my words. If we could send our politicians here for a month or a month and a half, then all the problems on Earth would be resolved much easily.
Scott, let me ask you this. You've taken these beautiful pictures. When you look down at Earth and when you look out to space, what do you see? What do you think about? How does it change your view of humanity and life on Earth?
So just to put this in perspective, I follow the news very closely up here, and we have the news going on in the adjacent module pretty much all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're always kind of hearing it. And you do get a sense that you know what's going on Earth, and you pay attention to it. And you look down at the Earth, there's a window right down here, and you do feel detached from it. And it does, between those two of those things, just kind of following what's going on very closely and feeling some detached from the planet, you do get a sense that there's a lot of bad stuff going on down there all the time. Like the news is mostly bad, and it's it's really unfortunate and really sad that that's the case. I'm certainly not blaming the people that report the news. I'm just saying, as an observation, there's it's mostly bad stuff that we hear about, and it's really a shame, because when we do look down at the Earth, it is such a beautiful place. It's it's our home, and it's a home that we need to take care of. We're all in this kind of like on the space station here. We're all in this together. We need to rely on ourselves for our our survival. We kind of feel the same way about the people on Earth, that when we look down there and get a little bit of a sense of that, and also obviously to protect the planet, because it does look very fragile from space. So you do get a little bit of a different perspective, I think, spending this much time away from the planet.
Thank you for joining us, Scott and Mikhail. We're out of time. Thank you for being with VOA.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the Voice of America portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from Westwood One.
Station, this is Westwood One. How do you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear. Welcome aboard the space station.
Currently circling the Earth in outer space aboard Expedition 46 of the International Space Station, astronaut Scott Kelly and cosmonaut Mikhail Kornienko. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, and it's great to be here with you today.
I assume it's appropriate to say good morning, Commander Kelly. Do you refer to time and the vastness of space as something as insignificant as morning, noon, or night?
Now, we work on a similar clock. It's 2:30 in the afternoon for us. We're actually on Greenwich time, so it's good part through our work day. But since you said good morning, and your listeners, it's probably in their morning, I figured I'd say good morning too.
Flight Engineer Kornienko, for many American children, especially those of us that as children saw the lunar landings, we put astronauts right up there with superheroes like Superman and Spider-Man. Are you treated like a rock star in Russia?
Вопрос, Михаил Корниенко. У нас вот в Америке после посадки на Луне отношение к астронавтам как к супергероям, к Спайдермен и так далее. Как к космонавтам относятся в России?
Ну, большинство людей, наверное, примерно так же относятся. Ну, конечно.
I'd say it's approximately the same treatment. Probably well, not treated as Spider-Man, but we're probably treated as people who are resolving a very important task for entire humanity. Somewhat as if we were heroes, but it's probably a bit overrated. I guess just as people who are performing a very important task, and we are probably the tip of a huge pyramid which is beneath us.
Commander Kelly, you're in space for a unique study. You have an identical twin brother, Mark, also an astronaut, but at present he's here on Earth. I assume he's doing all the same rigorous, time-consuming tasks you are for this study.
He's doing a lot of the stuff that's related to that specific study. Obviously, a lot of the data collection, all the the imaging stuff we have, the MRIs, CAT scans, blood draws, other bodily samples that we do, and he does the psychological tests as well. And he's a good control subject for this. We're nearly genetically identical, and NASA has a lot of data on him from, going back from 1995 when we first interviewed to be astronauts. So, hopefully from this, study we'll learn something about, the genetic effects and, areas where we need to go investigate further.
I may never have another opportunity to ask someone that's had the perspective you've had of orbiting the Earth, so I'd like to ask each of you, what's your personal message for those of us down here on this little blue dot? Flight Engineer Kornienko, are we doing okay down here on Earth?
То, что вы видите из космоса по поводу Земли. Михаил Корниенко, как у нас дела на Земле? Все ли у нас в порядке?
Ну, к сожалению, не могу предаваться такому оптимизму, что на Земле все в порядке, это особенно
I cannot be overly optimistic that everything is great on Earth, and this can be clearly seen from here, from above. I can only join my colleague and say that our planet is very fragile, so we need to take care of it, and this can be easily seen from here. Say in 2007, I mounted the Kilimanjaro mountain, and it had a glacier on the top of it, and now I can see what reducement has taken place. So we need to take urgent measures.
Commander Kelly, you've had time almost a year now on this mission alone to consider the question. Anything you would advise mankind?
I think this space station really demonstrates, what we can achieve very difficult things that we can achieve if we, put our minds, our expertise, our cooperation to work. This is an incredible facility. It does incredible research. We've been flying it continuously for the last 15 years, and it, really, for me, reinsures the power of our capability, the power of our, ability to achieve great things. But, when you do look down at the Earth, we see, often all the, the stuff that goes on that's not great. So it makes me think that, we have this great potential and we can always do better.
Commander, there are hundreds of experiments that you're carrying out aboard the space station, the twin research being done on you and your brother, a big one. What's the research all leading up to?
Well, hopefully, that research, like I said earlier, and the science that has to do with Misha and I being here for a year, is to expand our knowledge and understanding of the effects of this microgravity and space environment on our physiology and our psychology. So someday, hopefully in the not too distant future, we can go on to Mars and be able to mitigate these effects. And the space station is an incredible facility to do this kind of research. We're not going to have this space station forever, and we need to take advantage of it while we can to further our goals of exploring beyond low Earth orbit.
Now, before you blasted off from Earth, you were flying for the Navy in an F-14. That was right around when the movie Top Gun was so hot. When your astronaut days are over, you think you're going to go back to flying?
Well, I think I'll always be flying, whether it's as an astronaut or even as a private pilot in some form or another. I enjoy it. It's unfortunate, though. I'll never fly the F-14 Tomcat again because we don't. That plane was retired, I think, in 2006, and it's something it's an airplane I definitely miss, and it's a great part of our aviation history, and the legacy of that airplane. I'll hopefully live on for a long time.
Cosmonaut Kornienko, you've been in space before, but I don't think this long before. When you land, will you then have been the cosmonaut with the longest amount of time in space?
Михаил Корниенко, вы уже были в космосе, но не так долго. Когда ваша посадка состоится, будет ли вам принадлежать рекорд самого длительного пребывания в космическом пространстве?
Нет, есть космонавты, которые летали гораздо дольше меня.
No, not sure. There are cosmonauts who've flown many more days than I have. But my colleague and I will share the record in terms of duration of staying on the station. So we'll share this record together.
Men, when you touch down, I'm sure there are a lot of operational assessments that are to be done, but assuming you could get out of the capsule, meet up with your family, and do whatever you wanted to, what would you do? Cosmonaut Kornienko?
Вот что вы сделаете, когда состоится ваша посадка, и вы сможете пообщаться с друзьями и семьей, ваши первые действия после посадки?
Посмотрю на небо снизу.
I'll look at the sky from below, and I'll hug the earth.
Commander Kelly, what's first on your list?
Командир Келли, а вы?
After seeing my friends and family, the first thing I'm going to do when I walk into my house, I'm going to walk in the front door and I'm going to walk out the back door and I'm going to jump in my pool. And, I miss water and not just taking a shower, but that kind of feeling.
Astronaut Kelly, Cosmonaut Kornienko aboard the International Space Station. Thanks for spending time with us, and we look forward to seeing you both safely back here on Earth.
Our pleasure.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes our event.